It's difficult to define the role for each, but at the end of the day, in any relationship, I would want to believe that you actually, uh, trust begets trust from the other party. So I would want to believe that government and the private sector need to nurture this symbiotic relationship that I always talk about because, we've had stories about state capture, and I wasn't too sure whether my move to the private sector is also not corporate capture. But I think if it is something that I actually am going to enjoy doing because having been on the other side, now being this side, one thing I've identified is that, trust between the business and its clients is so critical that if you slip, you get punished very quickly. I said earlier in our discussions, private discussion earlier, and unfortunately in politics it takes 5 years before you get really punished. You can feel the pinch, but you don't, really get the real punishment. So I think the two need to work together. We need that coordination, but we all need to understand that we should all espouse and be, focusing on the same values as a country, because if we want to build this country, and it struck me that when you look at some of the 9 points that were identified in our National Development Plan in the diagnostics, talks directly to this point. And yes, and I don't think we've done enough to be able to find each other there, because when we get an opportunity, we actually use that opportunity for finger pointing instead of actually bringing what is our responsibility to the table, so that you could be able to see the other party also bringing, the same amount of trust. And I think we would have a much easier conversation if both the business and the private sector, of course, not just those, but there are other players also, the citizens themselves. We talk about the active citizenry, and I think the interest shown in this subject by the audience here just shows how many of us would want to see this relationship working, how many of us are actually, keen to bring our country and to build these moral values that we all would be a better persons if we had. He said, there are things you can't exchange for anything. Trust is one of those. Integrity is one of those. It reminds me of this famous quote from Warren Buffett about looking for employees, when he says, you're looking for integrity, you're looking for intelligence and energy. And he says, if the first one is missing, then the other two will kill you. That's the point.